So today we're talking about the sacred silence. And over this year, we've done a lot of work on prayer and meditation, prayer in particular. We went over the Lord's Prayer. Recently, we talked about how to use prayer to increase your ability to receive during one of the services, how to connect with God. So have you all been feeling a deeper relationship, perhaps, or a deeper space to go to?
Yes.
Thank you. And, you can always start today. If you haven't, start when you're guided to start. I'll just share this briefly. When I was a young girl, I learned meditation the transcendental way, where you're clearing your mind and going into a Zen space of peace. I learned focusing on a candle so you can open up your third eye. So many different techniques. But it wasn't until I'd given birth to my son and I was looking for a church to bring him up in that I found Spirit led me to a metaphysical church, a unity church. And that was where they taught immediately to surrender to God. That in meditation, you're moving into the space of surrendering. And oh my God, I was all over that. And I could not wait. I would get up early and meditate before the baby woke up so I could just find that silence, that space where there was nothing but me and God. So as I was channeling the services for this month, the sacred silence is so personal to me. It's so important to me. And do I always get there? No. I don't always get there. I don't always have time to get there. Sometimes my mind is busy. It takes me time to center back down. Sometimes I'm on a mission to get information from Spirit. So this is something that I want to talk with us today, and just the value of it. If you do not have a prayer practice, I encourage you to get a prayer practice, which means you pray in the morning, pray at night, pray at noon. I don't care when you pray. Connect consciously with God. If you do not have a meditation practice, I encourage you to get a meditation practice where you have a time that is set aside for you to go into the inner kingdom and connect. Jesus, throughout the New Testament in his journey, always is in the silence. He always takes time in the silence. He will sit for 7 days in the silence. He will sit for 3 days in the silence. He'll sit in the silence with the masters, with the disciples, with the entire group of followers. It says in one chapter, the entire group, chapter 122, you can read it. The entire group that followed him, and there were hundreds of people, sat in silence for 7 days. 7 days in silence. Do you think that they could find their way to knowing God in that time of sitting in silence? Yeah. It's so important because it helps us layer in. So I wanted to read and use as our reference today a chapter that we use frequently because Jesus is so specific about it. And this is before he starts his ministry in Israel. He's a younger man, and he is meditating. And this is chapter 40, so it's early in his life. And he's meditating, and one of the priests sees him. And this is not a Jewish priest. This is the faith that he's with, and he's in Persepolis. So a master saw him, and a light not comprehended shone about, as though some mighty spirit overshadowed him. And this master asked Jesus what that was. Where did that come from? And Jesus said this: "There is silence where the soul may meet its God, where the fount of wisdom is, and all who entered are immersed with light, filled with wisdom, love, and power." And then the master said, "Tell me about it." And then Jesus speaks on it. But when I say that to you, there is a space that you can go on meditation where you feel surrounded by all wisdom, but there are no words. Where you feel surrounded by this love, but there is nothing definitive in your mind. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's this home. It's home. It's when you are spirit and you're with God. It's home. And don't we need to go home sometimes? We need that home. And then when the scribe, or the master, asked about it, Jesus says this: the silence is not a place closed in with a wall or rocky steeps. It's not guarded by man. Men carry with them all the time the secret place where they may meet their God. It matters not where men abide, on a mountaintop or in the deepest vale. They may at once, any time, fling wide the door and find the silence, find the house of God, for it is within the soul. And Spirit said this: we look to see God in the world around us, but do we really look to see God within us? You know, we're very apt to tell our partners they're not behaving as if God lives in them. We're very apt to tell people that that's not filled with God love, this situation I'm experiencing. But do we really look within to see God? And this is what he's asking them to do. So, he says this: if you go alone, you will not be bothered by the noise of the people around you. If you go to your own space, get alone. And when life is heavy and pressing hard, it's better to go out and seek a quiet place. But the silence is the kingdom of the soul. You cannot see it with human eyes. So if you cannot go away, it is still within you. In the middle of all the chaos, you can sit and meditate. Have you ever been in a public place and seen someone and you know they're meditating? Yeah. It will probably get more and more popular. And have you sat in the middle of God and everybody and meditated? Yes. And people avoid you, don't they? They don't interrupt you because they can feel the energy. They feel the light around you. When in the silence, the phantom forms may flit before the mind, but they are all subservient to the will, and the master soul may speak, and they are gone. So I wanted to say this as well. He says, prepare yourself. You must lay aside tenseness of mind, business cares, fears, doubts, and troubled thoughts. Tenseness of mind, business cares, fears, doubts, and troubled thoughts. Is that easy to do? When we have, normally when we sit to meditate, the first thing that goes through our mind are the thoughts that we're having, aren't they? Thinking about this, thinking about that. And then finally, when you start to breathe, okay, I'm going to relax. God's love fills me now. Oh, yeah, I forgot to think about that. Okay, all right, let that go. Oh, yeah, those files are opening now. I forgot all that stuff. You know, everything that we've been holding in our minds says, okay, it's my turn because you've been ignoring me. And all these thoughts just keep coming forward. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. So it takes a little minute, does it not, to let things go, to let things rise. We teach meditations classes, and we teach you techniques to move through this stage quickly. So I want to share this with you in case you're having a moment with this. One of the things that we teach in Med 2 is before you meditate, get your journal and write down all the issues. God, I'm giving this to you. I give you these. And you write them down. Boom, 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 boom. Then you can write, God, I need answers to this. And then you write down the things that you need answers to. Because I have to make a decision. I have to make a decision whether my kid goes to school or does cyber. Tomorrow, I have to make that decision. I have to make a decision about moving. Tomorrow. You know, so there's a list of decisions. So you have spent maybe 5 minutes writing down the troubles. I'm going to give this to you. And now I'm writing down the things I need an answer to. Give this to you. Now, when you begin your meditation, you set aside your lists. Do you see what you have just done? You've opened those files and you've brought air to them. And you're saying, I'm taking you to God. Don't worry, files. Don't worry, head. Don't worry, heart. Those are going to God. And then you go in and breathe. And when you begin to breathe and settle in, this is one way of moving more deeply into the peace that takes you to the silence, because it's done. Another technique that a lot of people use are the balloons. Have you ever used the balloon? So you're going into meditation, or maybe you've already done your list and you're going into meditation, something else comes up. You create a blue balloon and you put all the thoughts about that in the blue balloon and you send it to the universe. And you're breathing. Oh, and then something else might come up and you send that to the pink balloon and send that to the universe. So we're having these multiple balloon releases until there are no more thoughts. And during this process, I also recommend that you give yourself something to focus on because the brain wants to focus. And I will use a mantra. You know, I use God and I are one. Go deeper, Cindy. God and I are one. Go deeper. And I'll speak that to myself. And if I have to do a balloon release, you can do a balloon release. Your mantra might just be God. God. If you're saying a word, left brain is engaged and it will stop bringing forward the files. And then all of a sudden, you're not saying it anymore. And you're dropping in. And you're dropping into your spirit and your soul. And then there's a clarity that comes to the vision. It just clicks. And you can feel light. Now the other meditations are fabulous as well. Guided visualizations, searching for answers. I need an answer. You're taken on a journey. You see your answer. All those are wonderful. They're wonderful meditations. They work with you at your level of consciousness. But this going to the silence takes you into the truth of you, to the depth of you, to who you are. Okay? Everybody say, I get that. All right. Your human will must be absorbed by the divine, and then you come into the consciousness of holiness. Now, God does not come into your world. You go into God's world, where you are true. You're of God. You go back into your source. You become aware that you are one with God, and that oneness is so clear. All right. In God's world, when you come into this, your will being absorbed by the divine, there's harmony. There's rightness. There's just this peace that cannot be explained of oneness. And there are no questions. It's just this flow. He goes on to say, you will see a living flame inside you. And then he speaks of, from your head to your foot are candles in place, 7 of them, waiting to be lit. 7 candles are 7 chakras. When we're in that sense of oneness with God, do you not think that every aspect of our humanity lights up? Every part of us lights up. Who I am physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of those chakras light when I can step into that energy. When you see the candles of flame, you will find waters of a fount of wisdom rushing on, and you may drink and there abide. In the space of wisdom, waters of wisdom, you can sit in this energy and just know that everything flows the way it should. And you can stay there in peace. Or you can go deeper. And when you go deeper, he says, you will be taken to the Holy of Holies. And the reason that he uses that phraseology is because in the ancient Jewish faith and in the Egyptian worship and in most worships, the priesthood had a space in the inner kingdom of the temples where no regular person was allowed. And there were priests that were not allowed there. Just because you're a priest doesn't give you access to this inner kingdom. And this inner space is called the Holy of Holies. It's where the highest of the high priests tend and connect with God. In Egypt, they would bring sacrifices. They would bring food. They would bring things. In other faiths, they just go in prayer meditation. In the faith of the Jews' ancient Old Testament, this is where the Ark of the Covenant was held and all the precious things that connected them with God. The mercy seat, all the things you read about in the Old Testament. And very few priests were allowed in there. Do you think that Jews of his day, when he said this, how do you think they would have responded if they heard that you can go to a Holy of Holies in your own heart? That was almost sacrilege. That's not what was believed or taught. And he used those words specifically so you would know You are a vessel of God. You are worthy of going deep within. Nothing separates you from God. You don't have to earn the right. You just have to go within. Then he says, in this space, there are 3 gifts that you have that are already yours, but you have access to them. And the first one is, he says that in this Holy of Holies, do not be afraid to lift the mercy seat and see the sacred laws. Read the laws. They contain all the precepts and commands that men will ever need. And when you understand the laws that he's talking about, they are not the thou shalt nots. They are not the thou shalts. They are laws of energy and perfection and balance and harmony and peace. They are beautiful laws in which we all live and move and have our being. And we get to see and understand them, and things make sense to us. The only example that Spirit brought to my mind as I was preparing this was the example of my parents. When I was young, I would pray that they got a divorce, but divorce was not fashionable at that time. When I was in my early 30s, I was just so confounded that they were still together. What is wrong with these people? And I'm in metaphysical thought. I'm getting Rohan therapy. I understand all these things. And I'm just so disturbed by my mom staying with my father who's aggressive and harsh and blah, blah, blah. Of course, he and I are at peace now. So just know that. We worked through that. But Spirit took me to the space where I could see what my mom was learning. They opened up the vision, and I went into this space of the laws. That she was learning something so specific for her soul, good for her. It was wonderful for her. There was no karma. It was wonderful for her. She wanted to be with him. It helped her learn. And I went, oh my God, that's amazing. I wrote it on a piece of paper. I never wanted to forget what my mom was learning. I was so excited, and I just said, thank you, God. Thank you for showing me the harmony, the balance. I am so very grateful. Thank you. I can forgive myself for judging them. I can forgive them for what they do. Thank you, God. And I wanted that little piece of paper, and I could never find it again. I do not remember what my mom was learning, because it was none of my business. But in the law of the higher, I could find peace with it. And I respected her for what she chose. And my dad for what he was doing. And he learned his lessons in his ways too. But do you see how things that from our human eyes, and this is why I share this with you, from our human eyes we think, oh, travesty, oh my God. But when we go to the laws of God, those beautiful energy balances, we can see what's happening. And we can see how everything will eventually work together for good. Take a breath. Do you want to have access to those laws? Yes. The second thing that we are given is this beautiful wand of prophecy. In it is the key to the hidden meanings of the present, future, and past. And this is your wand of prophecy. It lets you see where you've been, why you're here, and where you're going. It lets you see choices. It lets you see your soul's journey. Do you ever wonder, most people wonder what their purpose is. I know you do, because everybody asks me. If I'm doing a reading, you ask me what your purpose is. If I'm doing counseling, you ask me what your purpose is. And sometimes you ask, why the heck am I here anyway? So we all are looking for that understanding of our soul's journey and connection. And in the silence, in that sacred silence, you have the wand. It's your wand. It's your wand of power. It's your wand of choice. It's your wand of loving and honoring you. And I will tell you this, I know. You can step out of your karma anytime you want to. You can make your life as easy as you want it to be, or as challenging as you want it to be. You can change your mind. You're God's children. You can do anything you want. But maybe when we can see the rhythm of our lives, what we came to do, what we chose, we'll be more at peace with it. Does this make sense? The third thing that you're given is manna. The manna, and he who eats it shall never die. And remember, this is Old Testament. He's Jewish. Jesus is going to be talking to the Jewish people soon. Manna from heaven. When the children of Israel left captivity in Egypt, traveled through the desert, they had no food. And every day this substance would appear on the ground, and they called it manna ho, which means, what is this? So it became manna. And that's what it means. What is this stuff? But it was edible, and they could make bread out of it, they could make food out of it. So it was edible food. So anyone that was in his faith would know this is food from God. Manna, food from God. And in the Ark of the Covenant, as they traveled, they kept some original manna there for all those years, until it was, of course, stolen many, many times. So the food from God to feed you, and you will never die. Well, we're spirit. We're eternal. But what about our awareness of self? What about the awareness of who I am? Do you know when you really wake up to who you are, you never can go back to sleep? Do you realize that? You try, don't you? Yeah, just put me in front of that TV and I'm going to pretend like I am not divine. I'm going to zone out, and you wake up the next morning and guess what? You're divine. You're still there. Once we get the spiritual food from God, once we awaken to that, our awareness of who we are, our awareness of that spirit that we are, cannot die. It stays. It stays. You can fight it, but it still stays. So the prophecy, the food, and the laws, the understanding of the rhythms of life. And he says cherubims, which are baby angels. I don't know that they have baby angels, but that's what they're called, cherubims. They guard for every soul of the treasure box, and whoever wants to can enter in and find his own. Okay. All of this was an explanation of the silence. What is the silence? The silence is a space where we leave all concerns and cares to go become one with God. And most of our meditation times are not about that, are they? They're about, I have to teach a class, God. Talk to me. Tell me what I need to say. I have to tell me Sunday service. Give me Sunday service. I have to make a decision about selling this. What should I ask for it? God, talk to me. Tell me what I need to do. Do you hear what I'm saying? We meditate for guidance, primarily. We meditate for guidance, or we might meditate for healing. I need your light to flow through me now, God. I need to feel that beautiful light pouring through me. But to go in and completely let go of all attachment to the earth plane, all worries, all thoughts, all concerns, and just say, take me to the silence, God. When we ask that, we are asking to be taken to our own truth, our divinity in God light, our awareness, our beingness in God. And when you come out of that, for no matter how long you've been in it, you are renewed. And sometimes when you fall into that silence and it feels like you're there forever, could be 2 minutes. Could be that fast. But it feels like forever. Do you all hear me? Okay. As we're going forward to create a new reality in our world, and we really are, you guys know that. We're creating a new reality. As a people, we as a church, we're creating a new community. Remember our community goals. We're coming together to hold thoughts that we all agree on and acting in ways that we would all choose to act, that bonds us together, that we're kind and loving and all those things, which we've been working on this year. If we could add just once a week, trying to find the silence. Let's try to find the silence once a week. Do your standard meditation, do your journaling, do your automatic writing, take these meditation classes, take Med 2. You'll learn all the techniques to get you down, get you in, get you accessing, get information. But if we could add once to go into the silence, our lives would level up. Level up.
Good job.
I'm learning. Our lives would level up like nobody's business. We would be walking on water We would be walking on the emotions. We would not be having as many fear thoughts that we have to write on our list to let go of. We would be knowing God and I are one. I'm God's daughter. He's got me. I've got him. We've got each other. You know, we would act, live, and breathe connected. Connected. So this is my gift to you today. And I hope you can breathe it in and feel that beautiful love of God. And I want to say again, if we're following the path of the Christ, he sat in silence for days. I am not asking that of you. And I don't know that in our world, it's an easy thing to do on a regular basis. But we can make a commitment, make your own commitment to self to try for a small period of time to find it. So let's just take all this within now. So just put your feet on the floor. Father, Mother God, we love you so. And I feel your great love and presence moving through us now. And as we lit the light in our hearts this morning as we began, Father, I ask that your touch move to our hearts now. And I would welcome everyone who hears my words to begin to relax and breathe. Feel that Jesus Christ's presence is with you. And begin to feel your Christ, your heart. I am one with God. Feel yourself being willing to relax and surrender for a moment. I let all go. I am one with God. I let a light move through me now. And I receive the love that is being sent to me. God, God, God. With every breath, feel there is only love. There is only peace. There is only light. And God is real. And I am real. Take a breath, and I want you to visualize a green light coming from the top of your head and let it move through your body, a green light of peace. Peace to you, the beloved child. Peace to you. Father, Mother God, we love you so. And we are so grateful. Take a breath and send your love to God. And feel the harmony and peace and safety that surrounds you. Let your awareness go to your chair, your feet. Before you open your eyes, realize you are the sacred child of God. Precious in all ways. I am the sacred child of God. And so it is. Breathe in gently, open your eyes. Just from that few minutes, you can know if thoughts came in. You can know if you were able to say God in your heart. Every moment is perfect. It's information. The more we seek, the more we find. We are being held in this beautiful safety and peace. God is real, I am real, all else is an illusion. God is real, you are real, we are real, all else is an illusion. And I choose for my illusion to be filled with joy and happy moments. So yay God.
Yay God.